Okay, so this is part one. I'm going to show you how to make an apple. All right, first part of the fruit series. We'll do apple, banana, rambutan, some grapes as well. And I'll also show you how to make them game ready. They're all going to be low poly, not too low poly, but they're definitely not high poly examples. So it's a good place to start if you're a beginner. Okay, I'm going to delete that cube. And I'm going to go Shift A and add in a circle. All right. I see that screen cast keys isn't on, so I'm just, there we go. Okay. All right, so we have our circle. On the bottom left here, we can change the vertices. We're going to change them to 16. All right, I think that's a good place to start. Press 1 so that we can see the front view, and let's extrude up. Oh, first we're going to go into edit mode with tab, and then we're going to extrude up to around about there, I guess. Okay, then Control R for a loop cut. Add in 5 vertices, or 5 edges, 5 edge loops. Okay, and then we are going to scale the top all the way down, but first um, let's enable the X-ray view. The X-ray view is kind of nice because if you enable it and you box select a group of vertices or an edge loop, then it will select everything, even on the other side where you can't see it, right? So we're going to scale down with S all the way down, and we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. All right, let's just scale down with S. Okay, then we're going to alt click in the middle here. We're going to press O to activate proportional editing, and we're going to scale up a little bit. Okay, just to kind of get that apple shape, I guess. I can bring that down a little bit. There we go. All right, I think maybe these can come up a little. Oh, let's disable proportional editing just to, all right, to get that kind of apple shape. We can enable it again, scale a little bit more. I think maybe we need another edge loop here. We can scale this one without proportional editing. There we go, scale it. And we can do the same thing at the bottom, right? Just scale it out. And maybe these two can also come out a little bit. Kind of getting our apple shape. There we go. Okay, if you want to kind of see the shape a little bit better, we can untoggle the X-ray view and kind of look at it like this. All right, so this is the apple that I'm looking at. So I know some apples are a little bit kind of taller, I guess, and maybe a different color, but this is the one that I'm going to go with. So later on, we'll get to changing the proportions and skewing it out a little bit. Okay, so now that we have that, let's do the top area first. I don't know if I'm still so happy with the shape, but it's okay for now. Okay, so we're going to select all these vertices. Okay, remember to alt click. And I think we can add another edge loop. Bring that edge loop in a little bit. Okay. Let's alt click these and we're gonna bring this down to around there. Let's enable the X-ray again. Okay, over here. Let's bring this down. I think it goes around there. Okay. Let's enable that again. And we're gonna change to edge loops. Okay, let's just randomly select maybe 5. Okay, and we're gonna come down with these 5. There we go. All right, so you kind of get that, where it concaves in the middle. Well, actually, before doing that, let's select this. Okay, we can extrude up on the X, rotate that a little bit, extrude again, and there we have it. Okay, we're going to fill that in, and just we add some loops in because otherwise you see that doesn't really have any edges or vertices, so the shape will be a little bit weird in the end. So I'm just gonna, yeah, we're not gonna add an edge loop. We're gonna just extrude, come back out, and then you right click to kind of reset it, and then you can play with that edge loop a little bit, bring it in or out. Okay. And there we have the stem. Okay, now we can select 3 or maybe 5 of these edge loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We're not going to scale them in, but let's just bring them down. Okay. Before we bring them down, let's add another loop here. Okay. Again, select them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bring them down. The reason I'm doing this is because the apple always has this kind of weird concave shape, right? That goes into the stem. Okay, we're going to add another edge loop here, bring that in, and maybe scale. No, let's leave it as it is. I think it looks pretty good. What we can do though is kind of bring this one up a little bit. There we go. Okay, perfect. Now let's shade smooth. There we go. That looks a lot better. And so we're starting to have this apple. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is add another edge loop here because you saw that that looked a little bit weird. Okay, we can also add another edge loop over here and another edge loop towards the top. And there we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we have the basic apple, but what we are missing is the bottom. Okay, so another weird thing with apples is at the bottom. So we're going to do the same kind of concave thing, but just not as extreme. And then it's got like these little leaf things. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so what we're going to do, okay, you can go 7. There we go. Okay. Okay, I want to select maybe every second edge. Okay. Every second edge, and we're going to extrude on the x-axis first. Okay, so now we've got these kind of things. We can kind of scale them in, but I actually prefer not to. Let's scale them out like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to, gee, it's kind of move them, but not all of them. Okay, so we're just going to do it one by one. And we're going to kind of bring them in. This can be messy because, well, nature is a little bit messy. Like you're never going to have these perfect little leaf things. Okay, so we just keep bringing all of these in. I mean, I guess not to let them overlap too much, you know. Because if they overlap, then, you know, when we get to the material stage, then that could be a little bit problematic because of the normals and the faces, which way the faces are facing, etc. Right? But anyway, we'll get to that. Don't worry. For now, I think that kind of looks okay. We can, you know, you can make a few bigger or smaller or whatever. whatever you want. And you can change them however you want. Yeah, I think that kind of looks about right now. Oh, it's a little bit overlapping. Okay, so maybe we can make them all a little bit shorter. Okay, this one as well. This one as well. Oh, I guess I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist. I mean, could have been fine as it was. Okay, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is let's just select. This isn't really going to work our alt click now because we've already extruded some edges. So I'm just going to click around and we can kind of scale that in a little bit more. Okay, let's put in another loop and let's kind of do the same thing. Just select a few of these. Okay, G and X. There we go. Put in another loop cut just to bring that in so that it's not, it's not too much. Okay, the other thing that I think we need to do is just select everything. Again, enable that X-ray. Just toggle that on. Okay, you can see we have kind of those weird things and two loop edges selected. And let's just bring that in a little bit because I think that's how the apple is, right? It just goes kind of in just like that. Okay, let's select that other edge loop. I can bring this one in a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more. And I think we should probably bring this in. Oops. Another thing, just Control S every so often because Blender's a great program. The only thing is that it does crash sometimes. Alright. I'm gonna untoggle that. Okay, so let's just bring all of these in, right? Not you. I mean, of course, there's another way to do this in which I would have, before extruding everything, brought everything in, right? Okay, bring those in, and then all of these edges as well are going to come in. Okay, maybe, yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so I think that kind of more or less looks like an apple. Let's enable proportional editing again. Come up. Yeah, I guess it kind of goes around there, right? Okay, so we have an apple. And this is what it looks like at the bottom. Okay, so it's got all those weird things. Now what we're going to do is we need to close that hole. So I'm just going to add in, let's go to edit mode. Let's go Shift A and add in a cube. Scale the cube down. All right. Take it in. Let's enable our X-ray mode again. Okay, and first let's check front view. Let's check side view. Okay, so it fits within there. Go to vertices by pressing 1. I've got proportional editing on. Let's take that off. And let's bring this down. You can kind of stretch that out. Okay, let's look what it looks like. Maybe, I mean, it's definitely closed off. Can you see that? I think though, let's go back to our apple. We can select edges. This one over here is a little bit weird, so we can bring that up over there. Okay, that's out a little bit, that one out a little bit, that one as well. Yeah, there we go. It looks a little bit messy, but I think that's like what apples are kind of like, right? Bring down. Okay, perfect. So I think this can come up just a little bit over there. There we go. So you see, we have that little hole filled in, and we've got that those weird little things form at the bottom. I'd love to know the name of them actually. I'd really check that before I started making this tutorial. Okay, so now the only thing that's missing, if you can see, it's still a little bit squared off on the edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier. Okay, now it's looking very smooth. And we are going to, I think maybe we can use a lattice here. Maybe I want this to just be, just scale this up just slightly. I mean, over here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we kind of have our apple. I think it looks pretty good so far. But what's missing is a bit of deformation. It looks a little bit too perfect, I think, right? So let's add in a lattice modifier over here. All right, and we're gonna Shift A again. And if you go down, you can see it says lattice, right? So the point of the lattice is actually to deform everything, right? So, but the only thing is that it definitely needs to fit, right? It needs to fit over this apple. Okay. All right. On both sides, so press 1 for front view, 3 for side view, 7 for top view. Make sure that everything fits in there. And there's another thing that I don't really like about this apple, and that I think is this over here. So let's go to vertex mode. We're gonna pull this down, but first into X-ray mode. Okay, we're gonna pull this down a little bit because I don't like. There we go. You see, like it needs to look a little bit more natural, I think, because otherwise, I don't know. It looks more like a pumpkin if it's too big, right? Okay, let's look at what it looks like. Yeah, I think that's a little better. Maybe we can just pull it up slightly. Because I'm looking specifically at this apple, right? It has a really small stem. And it gets a lot like fatter towards the end, right? Oh, I'm doing that thing, you kind of become a prawn, just staring at my screen. Anyway, okay, I'm not sure. Let's go back into X-ray mode. There we go. Let's kind of bring those in. Okay, out again. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. And that means that this can also come down a little bit. Scale it in and down. Perfect. Okay. So the lattice, if you go to the settings over here, so it's the object data properties, and you can see that we can change, well, the resolution, I guess, is just, we have these little points, right? So we're basically just going to add in some edge cuts, right? Before we do that though, let's activate it. So we've got to select the lattice. Okay. And go back again to lattice settings. Let's change them all to like 5, I think would be a good number. All right. I like this because it's divided up in the same way that maybe you would take a photo, right? So if you're just looking at whatever you have right in front of you, you can divide it up. It's the same like if you do any drawing classes, you can figure it out. So first things first that I see with this apple is that we have a kind of bulge on the one side, all right, and it really comes in the middle. So these we're going to scale in, all right. Then I'm going to take the two corners and kind of pull it out. Well, pull it in because that's what is happening with this apple in front of me, all right. Kind of like that. Then the other thing that I see is there's kind of a bulge here, right? So let's just select these and kind of bring out this little bulge. All right, there you go. Do you see? Just kind of make it look a little bit more natural. And the nice thing about this is that you can duplicate the object and then you can just make a whole lot of different apples, right? And they're all going to be unique and they're all going to be easy to kind of put together in a composition, right? Because you never want anything to look too uniform. Unless, of course, you're doing like hard modeling or something. I don't know, like machinery and stuff, you know. That would be something. Okay, I can also see that it goes down a little bit. Yeah, on the one side. Looks a little, you know, it's best to have it kind of messy because, like I keep repeating, the nature is messy. Okay, this also comes out a little bit. Maybe this comes out a little bit too much, so I can pull that in. There we go, just in a little bit. Okay, this comes out, this one as well. Okay, these two come out, this one as well, and this one. Maybe back it out. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think that's more or less the apple. This comes down as well. Maybe we should select that one as well. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and we kind of need to go off to the... Alright, I think that's it. Yeah, that's kind of our apple. It's a bit weird. Okay, let's just hide the latter so we can just take a look at it. Yeah, I think it's a pretty well-formed apple. The only thing I'm unconvinced about is maybe the bottom. Alright, so let's just unhide that. I pressed H to hide it. I like to go under my collection to unhide things just because I like to know exactly what I'm changing. Okay, and then so this goes down, and don't forget this little guy over here. Make sure that he is far up. Okay, perfect. And there we go. Okay, so again, don't forget to save. Mine just called Apple now. Okay, and we are going to go out of edit mode, go to our lattice. Okay, it's perfect. And here we're going to go here and we're going to apply the lattice. Okay, and now you can, if you want to, you can delete it because we already have it. Okay, I'm just going to go back a bit and we're going to go out of here and we're going to just go back. So I can just show you, you can select these two if you want. All right, and you can press Shift D and you can go across and you'll have another apple and you can play around with that apple and you can change the shape of the apple again, right? You can make it kind of come out in different directions. You get what I'm saying. You can do a lot of things, okay? And to apply it, same thing goes, right? You go here, make sure you're on your modifier properties, apply it, and then after you've applied it, you can delete the lattice, right? So over here as well, okay, apply, delete the lattice. Okay, I'm going to delete that apple because we don't need it right now. And the next part, so in part 2, we've modeled the apple now, everything is good. In part 2, we're going to add in some 3-point lighting, right? And we're also going to paint our apple.